seventh chapter still. It's quite a interesting chapter, but there are a lot of things which are mentioned here, which we are not able to omit and go forward. But there is something which is being talked about. HVB is talking about the Oriental magic. HVB is talking about Oriental magic as well as the modern phenomena. So this is what she is talking. HVB is talking about Oriental magic as well as modern phenomena. Some persons who have traveled to the East, they have met a lot of Indian fakirs, and that's why she talked about magic even in the previous chapters. The magic which is the private or the white magic, not the black magic. It's all about white magic. But she has watched a lot of people, or the stories of people who have watched. That is what she has gathered. The HVB is talking about Oriental magic. Oriental means the magic which is done in the East, as well as the modern phenomena. He says some persons who have travelled to the East have vouched, means have said very firmly, that persons who are not educated, people who have no formal education, like fakirs, lamas, without using any mechanical aids or any other aids, produced wonderful magic. She is talking about people who are not properly educated, but they are called fakirs, people who move from one place to another, lamas, referring to the Tibetan lamas. So those people have been performing magic, or without mechanical aids or without any other aids, to produce wonderful magic. This is what she started talking about in this particular segment of the chapter 7. The performers were of the opinion that what they attempt as magic is not approved by science. This is what they, uneducated people, all right, but they say what they attempt as magic, what they try to show as magic, is not approved by science. And these events of magic prove the presence of occult powers in nature. And that power is guided and directed by superhuman intelligence. This is what they believe. They were all people who were not educated, all right, but then of this opinion, the performers of the magic are of this opinion that what they attempt as magic is not approved by science. Scientists somehow don't see eye to eye with what they are doing. They are not approving what they are doing. So they say scientists and science doesn't approve this magic. And these events of magic proved, they feel like that. The events of magic proved the presence of occult powers. There are some powers which are not so obvious, not not visible to this eye. So they are occult powers in nature. In nature they are all occult powers, directed and guided by a superhuman intelligence. So superhuman intelligence is behind all this. They are all part of nature, and it is the occult powers which are responsible for this, or because those occult powers are there, the events of magic have performed or proved. This is what those people who are performing magic had told. The superhuman intelligence, as the name itself suggests, is an intelligence which is beyond human comprehension. Superhuman intelligence, or intelligence which is beyond human comprehensions. So HVB says, what is the attitude of scientists toward this subject? Because the uneducated magician said, science is not approving our magic. So what is the attitude these scientists have towards the subject of magic? She says there is a cry which is far-reaching from humans, craving for a demonstration of the power of God, the existence of a soul, and all about the eternity. This is what she is saying. To understand something which is superhuman intelligence, you need not just physical knowledge, but there's something else. So HVB says, what is the attitude of scientists towards this subject? What do they think about it? There is a cry which is far reaching from humans, craving for a demonstration of the power of God, the existence of a soul, and all about eternity. So the power of God, what exactly God is all about, and what are his powers, if there are. So that is something which people are interested in finding out. Most of the humans are interested in finding out. In fact, they're craving for that sort of a information, is what Madam Blavatsky is saying. The existence of a soul. There is something which is living after death. So what is that? What is the nature of that? How does it exist? So existence of a soul is something which people are interested, and all about this eternity. So something which survives death and continues to live, and live for how many years or forever. That eternity concept is something also which people want to know. So scientists are silent about this, but there is a huge demand from people to know what exactly is the power of God and the nature of God, the existence of a soul, how the soul will be, what are the qualities of the soul, and all about the eternity. So eternity in terms of the period of living or elongating life. Does the body of scientists have anything to say on the above subject, is what HPB is saying. See, HPB always says the modern scientists, they say something which is not based on what the earlier scientists, the older scientists believe. So, what does the modern scientists have to say on this subject, is what she is saying. HPP says that scientists are quick to destroy any vestige or trace of God, but they're not able to erect anything. So science definitely comes very fast in trying to say that this is not God, or this is not soul, or this is not eternity. They are very quick to say what is not, but what it is, to say what it is, they are not there. They are not able to suggest anything. So scientist says, HPB says, scientists are very quick to destroy any vestige or trace of God. Vestige is trace. So any trace of God, they don't say is there. They don't want to erect anything. They're able to destroy the evidence, all right. They're able to destroy the arguments for saying that there is God, that there is power of God, that there is nature, there are powers of nature. All those things are there, but then not able to erect anything solid to explain this nature of God, nature of soul, and eternity. So this is what HPB is saying. This is a constant complaint H.P. Blavatsky had on the modern scientists, and she comes about this, with this argument that modern science is not anything. I'm like secondary chapter we're going to study. Again, scientists are not doing anything, scientists are not explaining anything. I have a feeling scientists who are used to proving anything based on material facts, even those material facts have to be put it in one particular condition, all things remaining equal. Then they say, this will act, this will happen. So that's how the scientists of the modern era work. But she is thinking in terms of the scientists, they should have the ability to explain these metaphysical things. This is what she is saying. And human heart is longing for some outward, external sign of God. This is what it is being felt. The human heart is longing for some outward, external sign of God. How he would give or how would appear. Externally, how does God look like? Is something which people are wanting to find out. Science can never science can never stifle the voice of the nature. Science can never stifle the voice of the nature. Stifling is choking the voice. Stifling. So science can never stifle the voice of the nature. Nature has got its own method of working and method of the way nature works. So science can never stifle the voice of nature. The representatives of science, says HPB, have poisoned the pure waters of simple faith. So the mind is appearing like water which has been stirred up from the bottom, making the water so disturbing that we are not able to see the truth as waters have become turbid. So this is the state of our minds. So she says scientists have destroyed the faith and they have simply poisoned the pure waters. What is the pure water? Pure water is something about faith. So that faith they have removed simply. So they have poisoned the pure waters. So the mind is appearing like the water which has been stirred up. Which has been stirred up means there is a lot of disturbance, there is a lot of turbulence in water. So the water has been stirred up so there is a lot of disturbance which will be created from the bottom, making the water so disturbing. The water has become so disturbed, so turbid, so that we are not able to see the truth. So the truth is somewhere down below, since the spoiling of water is taken from the bottom, or the disturbance of the water is taking place from the bottom. So we are not able to see the truth. So disturbing is happening because of the activities of science pulling down the faith, pulling down what information is available about God. That's what she's saying. The mind is appearing like water which has been stirred up from the bottom. So it has been stirred completely so that there is a lot of disturbance, making the water so disturbing that we are not able to see the truth. That's what is happening. As waters have become turbid is to see the truth. That's saying the waters, pure waters of spring have been spoiled. The pure waters of the spring have been spoiled. So spring water comes from the down below. So that spring water also has been spoiled. The one which is a gift of nature also has been spoiled. That's what HVB. HVB says the anthropomorphic God has been replaced by anthropomorphic monster. Actually, man made something Theosophy doesn't believe. Theosophy believes God is something beyond description, beyond words. It's only something which one can experience. So any image or any form created by man is called anthropomorphic God. HPB says even that anthropomorphic God has been replaced by anthropomorphic monsters. So the God's pictures and all those things have been changed so that they have been disturbed or they have been so changed in their appearance. Instead of anthropomorphic God, we see anthropomorphic monsters. They have been spoiled beyond recognition. The godly nature of what a man has created has given a yielded place to anthropomorphic monsters. Monster is something very cruel or crude. So humanity is not able to see the truth as the troubled waters have distorted the image or appearance of what is truth. She has said this just 5 minutes before, but this is something again she has mentioned. Humanity is not able to see the truth as the troubled waters have distorted the image or appearance of what is truth. So to arrive at truth, there are three things which are required. One is an intention, a fierce intention to see that you will see the truth. Intention should be there, followed up by industry. Industry means working towards the truth. Intention and work truth is industry, and then that should result in illumination. That illumination will show the glimpse of God. These are the three eyes: the intention, the industry, and the illumination. So these three are to seek the form of how the God looks. This is what Madam Blavatsky is saying. Intention, industry, illumination. So truth always has been the victim of these disturbances which has been created externally, the modern scientists. This is what she's saying. Humanity is not looking at prophets. Humanity is not looking at prophets. Prophets are, you can take it as agents of God, or people who are professing or talking about the religion which has been propounded by them. So people are not looking at prophets, agents of God, but looking at this for a proper, this is how perhaps science is being cornered. Humanity is not looking at prophets, agents of God, but looking at scientists for a proper proof of God. So what proof they can looking for that is what they are saying. Madam is saying. Professor as to what is spiritual. Profess as to what is spiritual and divine is normally done by the prophets. Prophets, that means the prophets talk about what is spiritual, what is divine. So proofs as to what is spiritual, what is divine has to be shown by scientists, is what Madam is saying. Men grope in darkness and the search in the innermost recesses of creation. Men grope in darkness, they try out. It's all dark, no light. So light is a place where we want to discern or see the form of God or see the nature of God. So they're trying to grope in darkness, trying to feel where God in the recesses of creation, wherever there is absent creation, wherever there are things which suggest that maybe this is where God can be. Proof as to what is spiritual and divine, men grope in such in the innermost recesses of creation, and that should bring the investigator to truth, closer to all unmistakable facts or signs of God. So they're, after all, groping in darkness, all right, but their search might prove fruitful, and though they're searching in the innermost recesses, strange gaps of creation, that should bring the investigator, means the person who is looking into the facts or looking in trying to find out how the godly nature is. So that investigator, he may come towards the truth or closer to all unmistakable facts. Facts which cannot be mistaken. He might come to facts, and also could perhaps give the signs of God. This is what he's saying. The scientists have dragged God out of his hiding place. This is another chant she is making at the scientists. The scientists have dragged God out of his hiding place, but had to show what is God or godliness instead. So, if God is, suppose somebody says God is in nature or God is in sea or God is in something, they say it's not there. That's why they say if God is hiding somewhere, that place they have destroyed. Scientists have, we can feel God or we can be made to see. So that's not happening. The scientists have dragged God out of his hand. That show God or God. They have shown us only a protoplasm. That means a mixture of small molecules, amino acids, water, etc. Instead of God, what they have shown is a protoplasm. Protoplasm is a mixture of small molecules, amino acids and water. So far she has been saying, as far as magic is concerned, even in magic they don't believe, they don't say magic is real, but the magicians say there are powers which are responsible for the magic to happen. So that also they are not accepting. Similarly, when they are going about, they find a lot of people are crying out for proofs or crying out for finding out how God will look like or how to feel. This far-reaching human right has been answered by scientists. They actually want what exactly is the power of God, what is the existence of the soul, and what is all eternity. So these three things they want to find out, but science has no answers so far for it. So she says scientists are quick to destroy any trace of God, but they're not able to place anything solid proof saying that this is God. So that's something which they have not done so far. So the human heart always is trying to look for some proof as to how God will look like and what will be power like. So science can never stifle the voice of nature, is what the statement is. Nature is more powerful. Scientists is only examining the matter. So nature includes so many things, matter and so many other things. So the power of science cannot stifle or cannot close the voice or cannot choke the voice of nature. So science have poisoned the pure waters of simple faith. People had faith. They used to go away on the basis of faith. So that faith, they have simply removed. The faith has been removed from the hearts of people. So now people do not know where to see. So the mind is now appearing like water, which has been stirred up from the bottom. There is a lot of disturbance in the water. So one is not able to see the truth. The waters have become turbid. The waters, pure waters of spring also have been spoiled beyond imagination. So HPB says the anthropomorphic God has been replaced by anthropomorphic monsters. By all this method which the scientists have followed, they have removed what is even godly like figure, as man has a figure which is monstrous, means something which is very, very big and something which will drive fear into you. That sort of a thing is what we are able to see. Humanity is not able to see the truth, as the troubled waters have distorted the image and appearance of what is truth. Three things are required: intention, industry and illumination. These three will lead to the threshold of godliness or God. Humanity is not looking at prophets or agents of God, but looking at scientists for a proper proof of God. All the while, the prophets have talked about God, work of God, etc. But Madam Blavatsky says the real work of the scientist is to show the proof of God. Proof as to what is spiritual and what is divine. This has to be given by science. Men grope in darkness and the search in the innermost recesses of creation. And that should bring the investigator of truth closer to all unmistakable facts or signs of God. So this investigation which should take place, maybe that would take the man closer to the unmistakable facts or signs of God. This is what she's saying. But I don't know how this chapter talks about the scientists have to give proof to God. I don't think, except Einstein, not many have agreed. There is some superior power which is working, which is guiding the universe, etc. Not many have agreed that there is a power which guides everything. But this is the feeling she has, that science actually has spoiled whatever scope was there to see that the God or nature of God is explainable. So the scientists have dragged God out of his hiding place. This is another charge. The scientists have dragged God out of his hiding place. Dragged means pulled him out of the hiding place, but are yet to show what is God or godliness. So, though they have pulled him out and they have distorted his image and all that, but what is the right image of God? What is godliness? They have not shown so far. But instead they have only shown a protoplasm, which they say is something very superior. Protoplasm is nothing but a mixture of small molecules, amino acids, water, etc. So this is what has happened so far, is what HPB has said in this segment of the chapter. Now HPB quotes Professor Huxley. He has appeared a number of times in our study, Professor Huxley, and says the word impossible is not applicable to matters of philosophy. Professor Huxley had said this. He says the word impossible is not applicable to matters of philosophy. The fact of rejecting without due examination, or the act of rejecting facts without due examination. The act of rejecting facts without due examination is presumptuous, and truth can never emerge in this atmosphere. See, simply rejecting all these are not facts. They are not based on any study or anything like that. There is no examination, and after that they are not declaring that these are not facts, but simply merely because it is not in their comprehension, rejecting the facts. That is presumptuous. That means you are presuming that you know. You are not able to show what is knowable, but you are saying presumptuous. All these are wrong. So this is what the scientists are doing. Without due examination is presumptuous, and truth can never emerge. Truth can never emerge. So in this sort of atmosphere, where there is so much of doubt, so much of ill feeling and so much of pulling down the images. So there is no way in which truth can come about. This is what she is saying. There is no way in which truth can come about. Truth can never emerge in this atmosphere. So doubt has to be removed and healthy mistrust replace it. So there is a lot of doubt as to the methods employed by the scientists. A lot of doubt. But that has to be replaced by healthy mistrust. Healthy mistrust means I have not complete faith. Similarly, I don't have full doubt. I am somewhere examining with an open mind. So that sort of a feeling should be there, but not otherwise completely rejecting without examination or completely accepting without examination. Both are not there, but a state of mistrust means an open-mindedness is required. HPV points out certain facts and expects scientists to explain the rationale behind these acts. She is cornering them. This is exactly what she has been attempting as far as the modern scientists are concerned. HPV says the certain facts, she is showing certain facts, pointing out certain facts, and expect scientists to explain the rationale behind these acts. What is the reason why these facts are behaving like this, why this is taking place like this? Scientists have to explain, is what HPV is saying. The first thing is, scientists were told that Romans preserved lights in a structure built to bury the dead. The Romans preserved lights in a structure built to bury the dead. So they used to light a lamp at a place where a body is buried, and that lamp used to burn continuously. So science has to talk about the rationale behind it, how that light is burning continuously. So scientists were told that Romans preserved lights in a structure built to bury the dead. The dead were buried and there was a lamp lit in that memory. So that lamp is continuously burning. The scientist should explain what it is. That is one. The lights are preserved for countless years. The lights which have been lighted so many years ago, they have been preserved for countless years. And one such light is still ever burning. One such light is still ever burning. Was in the tomb of Tulia. There is a tomb of Tulia, the daughter of Cicero. The daughter of Cicero, her name is Tulia. Her tomb had this light which was ever burning. Means always lighted. It stays in the stage of lighted. It doesn't get extinguished. That's what it is. Non-extinguishable light. This tomb was closed for 1550 years. This tomb was closed for 1550 years, yet the light is not extinguished, still burning. This is what the statement or the fact pointed out by the Romans. And HPV talks about this. And can the science explain what is the rationale behind it? This is the first thing she has talked. Similarly, the living or live fakirs. Similarly, like there is a light in the tomb of a daughter of Cicero. She is talking about the second one. Similarly, the living or live fakirs, people who are alive, they were not dead. Live fakirs were buried, and after 30 days they are brought out of the pits. And scientists may look at these events with suspicion. Similarly, the living or live fakirs were buried. After 30 days, they are brought out of the pits. And scientists may look at these events with suspicion. Even this has to be explained because they were found alive. When they came out of the pit, they were found living. How exactly this happened is what HPP says. Why can't scientists explain what it is? So, instead of explaining what the scientist is doing, there is some foul play. So they are suspecting the whole thing. So she also talks about the scientists having suspicion as to what could have happened to see these people who are still living after 30 days also. So she also talks about lamas. Lamas means Tibetan lamas, inflicting wounds on themselves, open, and show the bowels. My God, this is something which I think other people also have done. She also talks about lamas inflicting wounds on themselves, open their stomach and show the bowels. The wounds are healed or mended by lamas themselves instantaneously. The lamas open their stomach, pull out their bowels, and they show the bowels, and the wounds are healed or mended by lamas instantaneously. Means almost immediately the wounds are healed. Just because scientists doubt these phenomena, can it be said these are not true? Just because they doubt the phenomena, can we say these are not true? This is what Madam Blavatsky is talking. The first thing is the tomb, the place where dead bodies are buried, they always place a light there. So the light is kept burning, or the light is burning, not extinguished. That is one thing she said. And there is one particular tomb of where it is not opened even after 1550 years, but the light is still burning. So what exactly is the explanation of the scientist? Second thing is, she talks about fakirs, Indian fakirs, I guess, who are buried, and after 30 days they are brought out of the pits and they are found living. After 30 days, living within the pit, and they were covered in, when they came out of the pit or they were brought out of the pit, they were still alive. How does science explain this? This is the second one. The third one is talking about the lamas, the Tibetan lamas, inflicting wounds on themselves. That means cutting open the stomach or something like that. Inflicting wounds on themselves, open and show the bowels. The wounds are healed or mended by lamas instantaneously. So everything is repaired almost instantaneously, means at once. When they decide to close the wounds are closed. So can science talk about this also? So when I was explaining this to someone close to me, even Sai Baba has done this. Shivdi Sai Baba also has done this. He used to regularly remove maybe bowels or something else. He will remove, wash them and then again take them back. As if he is drinking water, put it into his mouth and gobble it again. So this is what I believe he has done. So this is a practice perhaps just there. And what is the scientist's explanation for this is what HPB is asking. Just because scientists doubt this phenomena, these happenings, can it be said these are not, can they be said these are not true? And just digressing, just taking you away from this, there is a temple called Kalahasti, Sri Kalahasti, where a lamp is always burning because it is Vayulingeshwara. They call it Vayulingeshwara. It is flickering also. The light is also as if it's going to get extinguished. It's flickering. And it is Vayulingeshwara. And a lot of experiments were done. The windows, this, everything. And still observe the light was on. The flickering was on. So these are some things which have happened. Maybe there is some power in nature which keeps that going. So she is saying, because these phenomena are there, science can't doubt them, because scientists look at that, but because they will not remain as lies, they are true. So what do they talk about it? So the Hindu ascetics also have disembodied they have come out of the body. They say they have chopped their bodies and got it back again. Hindu ascetics also have disembodied, come out of the body and again join them again. So and they find themselves better after that practice. They say after that cleaning is done or that cutting and rejoining is done, they feel better. They feel more energetic. So this is something which she's talking about. Hindu ascetics also have done it. They find themselves better after that practice. I have marked here Siddhi Sai. So Sai Baba also is supposed to have done this, Khanda Yoga or something like that. So he has also done it. One such ever-burning lamp, we are coming back to lamp again. One such ever-burning lamp was talked about by Reverend S. matir. You remember he talked about Trivandrum and some magic and all that. So this gentleman, Matir, Reverend S. Matir, Mateer. One such ever-burning lamp was talked about by Reverend S. Matir, who says such a light, ever-burning, still live, exists in Trivandrum. The great golden lamp was lit in 1878. The great golden lamp was lit in 120 years for that time. 1878, 120 years. I think it's still burning, then it's something great. It is in Trivandrum. That is how this man who is from UK has marked. Reverend S. Matir, who says, such a light which is burning always, that is South India, Kerala. The great golden lamp was lit 120 years ago. There is also another well in Trivandrum. She is talking about a well in Trivandrum. There is also another well in Trivandrum attached to a temple into which lot of well. There is also a well which is actually attached to a temple in Trivandrum. A well which is attached to a temple in Trivandrum, and lot of riches were thrown into that well, meaning maybe gold and silver. They were thrown into that well. So one is, and are they still there, or why she is mentioned about a well, we do not know. That is mentioned in the book. There is also another well in Trivandrum temple into which lot of riches are thrown, and treasures meaning gold and silver. Yes. Next, the Catholic missionaries mention that these lamps are kept burning with the help of a devil. They believe in that concept of Satan, Satan as they call it, Satan. So the Catholic missionaries, they mention or they give the credit for this, that these lamps are kept burning with the help of a devil. So the devil sees that everything is perfect. I don't know. Does the devil carry oil or what about exactly? What is the medium used to see that the lamp is continuously burning? All these we do not know. Even in this Siddhi story, M.V. Kamath has written, there is a place where people go down, walk into some cave-like thing and find some lights are burning. Some lights, nobody is living there, but they see some lights burning. So something like that. So Catholic missionaries mention that these lamps are kept burning with the help of devil. Light being a signal of or symbol of knowledge. I don't think devil will be involved in this, but still that is what the book says. The Catholic missionaries mention that these lamps are kept burning with the help of a devil. Whereas Protestants do not talk about it. Protestants are silent about it. Catholics say devil has done this. So HPB talks about levitations of human beings. Levitations is going up in the air. They are sleeping on the ground. Suddenly we find them suspended in the air. So that is levitation. HPB now talks about levitations of human beings in broad daylight at Benares. That means Varanasi. So she is talking about that. She is talking about levitations of human beings in broad daylight. It's not something where people can't notice anything like that. It's broad daylight. We see the body going up from the ground and floating in the air. And this is happening at Benares in broad daylight. They have happened in the open air and the person stays levitated for more than 20 minutes. This is what she says. HPB talks about levitation of human beings, that is going into the air from the position of sleeping on the ground. He lifts himself up into the air, and this happens during broad daylight, and the place of happening is Benares. So they say this has happened in the open air where everybody can see. It's not a closed affair, open air, and the person stays levitated for more than 20 minutes. So she is giving all the particulars of this only to say how this is happening. There are occult powers which are taking care of all this? And can science get into that details? Can they? Here's her question. So for 20 minutes, this person used to stay levitated. That's what she's saying. HPB says these phenomena mentioned by Professor Cooks, Cookes, and Professor Perty, Perty, they in fact, these two have done some work in the fourth or fifth chapter. They were there together, or third chapter. So Cooks and Professor Petrie will continue to happen. Both of these people who have investigated or seen all this happening, they say these things will continue to happen. The scientists who are also continuing to show their skepticism. So these things will continue happening, and scientists also will say all this is doubtful. We don't believe in this. That's what they will say. They will not be able to prove why this is all possible, but they still have doubts. Skepticism is doubts. So they have doubts, and so those doubts are ever present. Similarly, these phenomena also are ever present. So this is what she is saying. And it's all about this in this particular segment which we're going to read today. It's all about lights, lamps, and things like that. HPV says these phenomena mentioned by Professor Cooks and Professor Perty, Perty, will continue to happen. And the scientists who are also continuing to show their skepticism. So it will continue. Scientists also will doubt how this is happening. So now HPV talks to us about the claims of ancient Egyptians. HPV now is talking about the claims of ancient Egyptians. They are called the sons of the land of chemistry. I believe these Egyptians are called the sons of the land of chemistry. Due to their religious belief, they used the lamps a lot. So it's all about lamps, as I told you. HPV talks about the claims of ancient Egyptians. They are called the sons of the land of chemistry. Due to their religious belief, they used lamps a lot. As suggested by the religion, they use lamps a lot. They believe that the astral soul of a mummy is the dead body which is there in the pyramid. They say the astral soul of the mummy will be lingering around the body for about 3,000 years. This is what they believe. Theosophically, it may not be right, but they believe, the Egyptians believed, they believed that the astral soul of the mummy, that is the astral portion of the human being. Astral soul means this physical body is dead and something goes out to the first state, that is astral soul. Soul is not talking about the ultimate last principle. She is only talking about astral soul, meaning something which escapes immediately the astral body like. So astral body is, or astral soul as she calls it, is lingering around the body for about 3,000 years. And there is an ever-burning lamp which is a symbol of incorruptible and immortal spirit. So because this astral soul is lingering around, and there is also a lamp which is burnt, and that lamp is a sign or is a symbol of incorruptible and immortal spirit. Immortal spirit is a spirit which has no death. Incorruptible is pure and immortal spirit. Incorruptible means it cannot be spoiled. That's why it's called incorruptible. Immortal, it continues to live, so it's called immortal. So this is something which she mentioned. The Egyptians, who are called the sons of the land of chemistry, because of the religious belief they have, they use the lamps a lot. They use lamps. They believe that the astral soul of the mummy, the dead body which is retained in the pyramids, they say the astral soul of the mummy will be lingering around the body for about 3,000 years. And the ever-burning lamp also is there as a symbol of incorruptible and immortal spirit. Right. Now there is something which we have studied in our own Theosophical literature. There is a magnetic thread. There is a magnetic thread which connects the material soul, which is part of the being living on earth. There is a magical thread which connects the material soul, which is part of what is living on earth. So there is something like a magnetic thread which is existing and which connects the material soul, and it is there attached to the being who is living on the earth. And when the magnetic thread snaps, the astral soul unites forever with the divine self. So as long as the connection is there between material soul and the living being on earth, nothing happens. It is there continuously. But when the magnetic thread snaps, means it breaks, the astral soul unites forever with the divine self. So Pythagorean, all those people believe in three principles, not 7 as we are talking about. They only said physical, astral, and the higher, divine. So the astral soul unites forever with the divine self. So HPB gives details of various lamps, ever-burning lamps, which were reported by others. Chemists and physicists deny the concept of perpetual lamps. Both chemists and physicists actually deal with light and everything. So both of them, chemists because there should be a medium, there should be an oil or something like that which should have been used to make the wick burn or whatever, the light, how does it burn otherwise? There's some element there, so that is covered by chemists, and the light portion of it is covered by the physicists. So they both of them, chemists, deny the concept of perpetual lamps, because any oil will turn into vapor or smoke. Any oil will turn into vapor or smoke and cannot retain the oily nature or permanent nature. It's not possible to retain the oily nature permanent basis, because oil turns into vapor or smoke, and once it takes a different form, it cannot be brought back to the stage of oil. So the oily nutrient means the oil portion of it, or the nourishment which is caused by the oil, through exhalations during burning converts into vapor. The oily nutrient through exhalations during burning converts into vapor. Oil gets converted into vapor. That's what it means. That's what she has said 2 lines before also. She is again saying it for the sake of clarity. The oily nutrient, though through exhalations, means it is going on emitting air. So exhalation is leaving the air. Through exhalations during the burning converts into vapor. So oil gets converted into vapor. Alchemists, on the contrary, believe, chemists and physicists say such a thing is not possible. Perpetual lamps, burning of perpetual lamps is not possible, because once the oil becomes a vapor, it cannot be brought back to the stage of oil. So oil will get exhausted, and so there is no question of continuity of lamp. That's what the chemists and physicists have said. But the oily nutrient, through exhalations during burning, converts oil into vapor. So once it becomes vapor, it cannot get back to the stage of oil. So that's the argument of the chemists and physics. All chemists, on the contrary, believe there are things in nature which will not only resist the force of fire and remain inconsumable, but also inextinguishable by wind or water. Alchemists are people who believe in rasavada, means you can change the complexion of the metal by adding certain things, and that is what alchemists is all about. Alchemists are saying, on the contrary, against the belief of the chemists and physicians, physics students, people who have studied physics are called physicists, not physicians. Physicians is doctor. So chemists and physicists who have studied physics, physicists, they deny the concept of perpetual lamp, whereas alchemists say, on the contrary, believe these are things in nature. The physicist and the chemist, they say it is not possible, but alchemists say it's possible. There are things in nature which will not only resist the force of fire, it will resist this force of fire and remain inconsumable, but also inextinguishable by wind or water. The alchemist belief is different. So the medium was there, it will not, because of, and remain inconsumable, because it will not get exhausted. It will not get exhausted. The oil will not get to a stage of exhaustion, but also inextinguishable by wind or water. Nobody can throw water or expose that to a wind and see that the light doesn't burn. So alchemists believe this. Alchemists also believe, by conducting various experiments, they came to the conclusion that it was possible to have lamps which will burn for several hundred years. Alchemists have done separate experiments. They have done experiments. They came to the conclusion that it was possible to have lamps which will burn for several hundred years. So this is something which they have registered. They have done experiments. Alchemists also have done experiments, because they are also chemists in a way. So they have done some experiments. Conducting the experiments, they came to the conclusion that it was possible to have lamps which will burn for several hundred years. The Kabbalists also assert the secret of keeping the light burning forever was known to Moses. The Kabbalists believe that the secret of keeping the light burning or lamp burning was known to Moses, who learned this method from Egyptians. And the land ordered by the Lord to burn on the tabernacle was an inextinguishable lamp. Tabernacle again is a grave-like thing. So Moses learned it from Egyptians. The secret of keeping the lamp light, so it will not get extinguished. So that secret Moses learned. So Kabbalists, that is Jews who belong to the old Christian religion. So Moses picked up this secret from Egyptians, and ordered by the Lord, burn on the tabernacle was inextinguishable lamp. So this is someone who has ordered, means somebody has said, a king or someone has said, let this lamp burning on the grave without getting itself extinguished in a state of inextinguishable lamp. So that should be there. And thou shalt command the children of Israel that they bring the pure olive beaten for light. So they say it is the pure olive oil that is what is the medium used. And thou shalt command means you shall command the children of Israel, somebody who will travel from Israel, children means people who belong to Israel, that they bring the pure oil. They bring the pure oil. So to you, they bring the pure oil, olive oil, beaten for light. That means made for light, to cause the lamp to burn forever. So this seems to be the trick. Moses learned the trick from Egyptians. So thanks to him, the Lord ordered for a particular lamp to burn on the tabernacle forever. That was organized by Moses. Then again another quotation says, and thou shalt command, that means you shall command, thou shalt command the children of Israel that they bring the pure olive oil beaten for light to cause the lamp to burn forever. So it is Israelis who used to bring this pure olive oil, and that was used for keeping these lamps burn in a stage or in a state of inextinguishableness. Nobody can wipe or blow them off or pour water and see that the light is gone. The way the lamps were made, by using quicksilver, the lamps, the container itself where the oil is poured and the oil is contained by a container, that the way the lamps were made, by using quicksilver, filtered 7 times through the white sand by fire. The metal was prepared to make a lamp which will burn perpetually. So in order to make a lamp, just the physical lamp, not with oil, just the physical lamp, that lamp was made by using quicksilver, filtered 7 times. Means they have heated it to a stage. They have heated it to a stage, it is melted, they purify it, again melt it, again purify it, like that 7 times. They have done the filtering. Quicksilver filtered 7 times through the white sand by fire. So they use sand also, white sand also, and they burn the times, filter it 7 times, and with that metal, which is pure, they prepare the lamp. So lamps are made like this. The metal was prepared to make a lamp which will burn perpetually. So the container has to be good, the oil medium also has to be good. The oil is olive oil, which was brought from Israel by Moses and others, and the lamp itself was manufactured by using quicksilver, filtered by heating it for 7 times and bringing it down, purifying it every time it was heated, and using white sand and through fire. So this is how the lamps are made. This is how the oil is used. HPV moves on to a question, how the knowledge of the particular century is superior. HPV moves on to the question, how the knowledge of the particular century is superior than that of the ancients. She is doubting because she always believed ancients knew better. Ancients were having good hypothesis, whereas the new scientists are only keeping the hypothesis based on material. So she always supported the ancients. So she is saying, HPV, how the knowledge of the particular century is superior than that of the ancients. What she wants to convey is, ancients' science or ancient scientific method is far superior. How can they prove the modern is better than ancient? That is the question she is raising. She says, we don't mean the brilliant and clear distinctions of our modern scholars, of particulars, to the most trifling details of every branch of exact science. What she means, how they can prove, she says, we don't mean the brilliant and clear definition of our modern scholars, of particulars, to the most trifling details of every branch of exact science. They have definition, they have the clear description, even the trivial details. That's not what we are talking about, she says. She says, we don't mean the brilliant and clear definitions of our modern scholars, of particulars, to the most trifling details. Trifling is silly, small details. If you want that, this is how you look at it. That's not what we are looking at. So that is not the branch of exact science we are talking about, is what she is saying. But on the whole, she wants them to prove that their modern science is far superior. How will they prove it? The ancient greatest philosophers, she is coming to philosophers now. Ancient greatest philosophers were criticized and remarked that these ancients did not know basic details of exact science. The philosophers were ancient. The modern scientists do not take the old scientists into consideration at all. That is one thing. Now she is talking about philosophers. The ancient greatest philosophers were also criticized and remarked that these ancient philosophers did not know basic details of exact science. They were criticized like that. You are philosophers, but you don't know even the basic elements of science. This is the charge leveled against the old philosophers. So whom they have picked? Plato is one of the ancient philosophers picked for this special treatment. Plato is one of the ancient philosophers picked up for this special treatment. He was accused of not knowing the details of anatomy of the human body. He is a philosopher. Plato is a philosopher, he is a mathematician, but they say he doesn't know the anatomy of the human body. That's the charge against Plato. He was accused of not knowing the details of anatomy of the human body. For example, the modern scientists say Plato was not aware of the role of nerves. Plato was not aware of the role of nerves to convey sensation to the brain. He was not aware of it, he was never mentioning that, and he was simply avoiding it while discussing his philosophy. So they say, the modern scientists say, Plato never had knowledge of what the role of the nerves is in carrying the sensation to the brain. Plato was only having general idea of the parts of human body. He did not possess further details or finer details. He being a philosopher, maybe we will say that he is right, that he doesn't know all the physiological details. But scientists have charged him, scientists have criticized him, saying that he only had a general idea of the parts of human body. He never possessed the finer details. Plato was saying man is a microcosm and universe is macrocosm. This is something which has come from that age. Even now we talk about it. Human being is microcosm, universe is macrocosm. So Plato started this. So he said man is a microcosm and universe is macrocosm. So whatever is there in the universe is there in the man. That's what he proposed, the theory. There were no proofs to understand these concepts. No visible proofs were there given by Plato to understand these concepts. Plato knew that there is blood in human body which is in constant motion. Plato was aware of the presence of blood which was moving all the time in human body. It had constant motion. But he did not know that human heart has two ventricles. He never knew the details, that's what they said. So they say Plato knew that the blood was there, it was moving always, but he never had idea that there are two ventricles to his heart. Blood from the heart flows through the arteries, blood returns to the heart through the veins. This, I believe, is the arrangement. So blood flows out using arteries and blood returns back to the heart through the veins. So Plato didn't know all these details. This is what the modern scientists are talking about. So Plato knew that mightiest and grand movements of the universe. He knew what are all possible movements are there in the universe, constellation, planets, and all those things he knew. Plato knew the mightiest and grand movements of the universe. But the details of the movement of the universe explained using geometry is actually taxing the brains of modern scientists. So the way he explained through geometry, how things move, how things get attracted to each other and all that, Plato knew that mightiest and grand movements of the universe, what movements take place in the universe, how stars go round, how planets go round, how sun is situated, all these things, details which he was explaining, using geometry particularly, was taxing the brains of modern scientists. So that was not palatable to scientists. All the explanation which he could give using mathematics or geometry, they were quite happy to accept that presentation. Plato and his disciples can talk a great deal about cosmic laws. Plato and his disciples can talk a great deal about cosmic laws, the laws of the universe. They will talk at length about it. And the mutual relations, and they can also demonstrate the control over the occult forces which are behind these cosmic laws. Shasanamulu, laws, L-A-W-S. So Plato and his disciples can talk a great deal about cosmic laws. They could explain, they could talk that there is presence of cosmic laws and this is the role of cosmic law, all that they could say. And the mutual relations between one another, one planet and another planet, that mutual relationship also they could explain and demonstrate the control over the occult forces. They could also demonstrate, not only Plato, even his disciples could could demonstrate the control over the occult forces. There are occult forces which are operating. There are forces in nature which are operating. So they say occult forces are operating, and the control over the occult forces also is there, which are behind the cosmic laws. The cosmic laws are happening, or they're showing the influence based on the occult forces which are part of the world or universe. HPB says the modern scientist, by accepting Plato, is not aware of human anatomy. So this is what he is such a great philosopher. They're simply calling him a person who doesn't know nerves and veins and all that. So something very basic he is not aware of, but something in general he knows, that there is blood moving around in the human body. So all those things he knows. Because he didn't know the physiological details, they find fault with him. Is that fair? Is what HPB is saying. His specialization in philosophy, his specialization is mathematics. He is trying to prove that the microcosm and macrocosm, they are perfectly in tune with each other. And the way the various mutual relations are taking place, the cosmic laws presence, how each one is interdependent, all those things they are able to demonstrate. But this modern scientists are criticizing Plato and disciples because they did not know many physiological or anatomy about a particular person. So HPB says modern scientists are accusing Plato that he is not aware of human anatomy. So the scientists are losing the sight of the intellectual power of the past ages. So scientists are not appreciating the amount of contribution Plato and others made, but they are not really bothered about the intellectual power displayed by them. But they are only pointing out, in order to present that, he should also have knowledge of, he doesn't have the knowledge of what the body is like and what are the various parts and all that. So he's someone not to be accepted, perhaps, is what they are saying. Modern scientists have trivial details. Sometime back also they said trivial details, means small details. Modern scientists have trivial details of the parts of mineral, vegetable, animal and man. So that's good. Modern scientists have trivial details of the parts of mineral, vegetable, animal and man. The parts means the body parts of what the mineral is all about, or what all the vegetables is all about, what cells they're composed of, what is a stem. All those things they know. Details of mineral, vegetable, definitely animal. Animal is also they are quite aware of the composition of their metabolism and all that. And finally, man. Modern scientists have trivial details. Even the smallest details also they have covered. They have taken it into their position. So she says modern scientists have trivial details of the parts of mineral, vegetable, animal and man. But what is activating what is activating these vegetable kingdom, mineral kingdom, animal kingdom and human kingdom, that they are not aware. Scientists say a plant is made of so many parts. It has roots, it has a stem, it has leaves, it has all those things they are able to explain. But what exactly is happening? What is that which is making that plant live? That they are not able to explain. This is what she is saying. But what is actually activating the power which is present in all these kingdoms, they don't seem to be having a clue. So they, on the other hand, they accuse Plato didn't have the details of anatomy. Here is a case that HQB says they are very, very aware of all the small details of what each thing is, mineral is, what vegetable is, what animal is, what man is. All details they have. But what actually keeps it going? What is it is working within him, or within that animal, or within that universe, the mineral or the vegetable kingdom? They don't know, they're not able to explain what exactly is living in that particular system. So the power which is present in all these kingdoms, namely mineral, vegetable, animal and human, they don't seem to be having a clue. So they don't seem to understand what exactly is happening, how all these things are live, how the plant is growing, what makes it grow. They know the parts all right, but they don't know what is operating within them which makes the growth possible. The vital power brings changes in mineral, vegetable, animal and human kingdoms. So what is the power which is there? It is the vitality, it is the life force which is actually operating in mineral, vegetable, animal and human kingdoms. Modern science, the vital power is within inverted commas. The vital power means the one which keeps the life power or power of the Jivana Tattva. That means vital power, power with lot of strength in it. So that vital power is what is keeping these kingdoms living. It goes on living. The vital power brings changes in mineral, vegetable, animal and human kingdom. Not only it is there, it also brings the changes. So they bring changes. Vital power brings changes in mineral, vegetable and animal kingdoms. And human kingdom also. Modern science is not able to explain or give details of the vital power. Modern science is not able to explain, give details of what that vital power is. The following hypothesis was presented by Plato to his disciples. So Plato had presented some theory and the disciples had to understand that. So that principle is what HPB is trying to explain. One, that nebular theory was received well by the early physicists. The nebular theory was received well by the early physicists. Nebular is something which is in the beginning, to begin with. And it is hazy, because it is the beginning with, it is very hazy, not concrete form. So the nebular theory was received well by the early physicists. The people who specialized in physics, they accepted that theory. That's what the first of the principles which Plato gave it to his disciples. Number two, animals came out of frogs. This is something which he is talking. Animals came out of frogs. Man came out of the animals. These two statements they have made. Animals, they come out of frogs, and man comes out of the animals. Right. Third one, the earth was a body like the other stars revolving in space. The earth is also like other planets, as naturally it is also a planet. The earth was also a body like the other stars. Earth is also a star, other things also are brighter stars. Planets also are appearing bright. So the earth was a body like the other stars revolving in space. So they are going around in space. This is the third one. Fourth one, that there was sex in plants, means male plant and a female plant. So that was there in plant kingdom. And animals too. So there was sex in plant kingdom and animal kingdom, meaning that there is a female tree, that there is a male tree. There is a female animal, there is a male animal. That's what it meant. Not that word to be understood properly. That there was differentiation of sex in plants. If I add differentiation, I think it will make sense. That there was differentiation in sex in plants and animals. The musical notes depended on the relative strength of the strings and the tension with which the strings were tuned. Sound came out of this taut strings. So another thing which they are talking about is, she is talking about is, musical notes depend on the relative strength of the strings. So the violin or guitar, whatever it is, they have strings. So these musical notes which are produced, they are dependent on the condition of the strings, or the strings. String means stringed instrument, violin, veena, they are all stringed instruments. So it is string. The musical notes depended on the relative strength of the strings and the tension with which the strings were tuned. So they are tuned, they are actually twisted to a particular state where by tapping it you get a sound. Tapping means you pull it with your hand, you get a sound vibrating, resonating in that room. So that is how these instruments are tuned. So the musical notes depend on the relative strength of the strings and the tension with which the strings were tuned. So that's how it works. Sound came out of this taut springs. Sound was a product of this strings which have become very tight. Taut means very stiff. So sound came out of this taut strings. So when the string is very loose, it cannot produce a sound. When this particular, from one place to another place it is tight, both ends it is adjusted for the string, that produces sound. Sixth principle, there are mathematical laws pervaded in the world. Qualitative differences have their own origin in numbers. It is about mathematics. There are mathematical laws pervading in the universe. So mathematical laws are there, natural laws are there, scientific laws are there. So about mathematics, Mr. what is his name? Plato says mathematical laws pervaded in the universe. Qualitative differences have their origin in numbers. So there is any quality difference, not quantity. Quantity increasing is not related to that. Qualitative differences have their origin in numbers. So if the number is changed, there is a quality difference which is coming about. That's what he is saying. Matter cannot be destroyed, it takes a different form. This is something which we all know, but this is given as a principle by Plato and his disciples. Matter cannot be destroyed, it takes a different form. So matter, if you heat it, it becomes vapor. Again you put it into vapor. When you solidify the vapor by putting it into the fridge, it becomes matter again. So like that, matter can only change. Matter cannot be destroyed, he says. Matter cannot be destroyed. It can only change, transform and form a different shape. So in a sense, the Platonic philosophy talks about order, system and proportion. This is what the Plato philosophy summed up is. It is, the essence is, it talks about the order, that there is a perfect order in everything which is happening in the world. There is a system. System means something which is happening according to a particular design, particular plan. So there is a system there, there is an order there, and proportion. So how much it should react, how much it should act, there is a formula. So that's why it is behaving with a sense of proportion. So that is also there. One order is there, second system is there, and a sense of proportion is there. So these three are the qualifications of the Platonic philosophy, or the essence of the Platonic philosophy. The system talked about the evolution of the universe. The system talked about the evolution of the universe, species or various forms, correlation and conservation of energy. So this is what it is. The system talked about the evolution of the universe. Species means various forms, the various living beings. So the system talked about the evolution of the universe. Species are various forms. Even human is a form. Animal is a form. Mineral is a form. Vegetable is a form. So all this talked about the evolution of the universe. Species are various forms. Correlations. Correlation means something A is related to B. That is a correlation. Conservation of energy. Conservation of energy. Energy which is there is stored, is not wasted. So conservation of energy and transmutation, mineral, vegetable, animal forms. Transmutation means changes happening every day, every minute in the kingdoms of mineral, vegetable, animal forms. So all these three kingdoms are subjected to transformation. So it goes to prove, finally, she says, the matter of indestructibility. Matter cannot be destroyed, it can only change the forms. HPB laments, HPB crying. HPB laments means she is complaining very severely that the modern science has made such rapid strides, it is said. She says, the modern science has really captured, it is moving about in a very fast way. Such rapid strides, it is said, still the science is not able to clearly explain the natural laws than the ancients. Ancients have explained what is natural laws, but the new scientists are yet to explain what all these laws of nature are. Modern science has made such rapid strides, it is said. So it has made rapid strides, all right. Still the science is not able to clearly explain the natural laws. Though there is a lot of improvement in the way the science has grown, even at home. Someone is brilliant in chemistry, somebody else is brilliant in physics, like that. So it's going on. So HPB says modern science has made such rapid strides, means it has progressed well. It is said, still, even now, the science is not able to clearly explain the natural laws. The science is not able to explain the natural laws. So what is natural? What is that particular rule which that particular nature is talking about? This particular person is not able to explain. So that's the reason why modern science has made such rapid strides. It is said, still the science is not able to clearly explain the natural laws. So there is a formula with which these natural laws are operating, but not all are aware of what is the formula. HPB laments that modern science has made such a rapid stride, it is said, still the science is not able to clearly explain the natural laws than the ancients themselves. So ancients are very well informed, all right, but scientists, they are not able to make rapid strides and they are in a state of disharmony or something which they are not able to explain. Such a rapid stride, it is said, still the science is not able to clearly explain the natural laws than the ancients. Ancient had good idea about the natural laws, so they would explain. Whereas the modern man is not able to explain the natural laws or the laws in force. Ancient had the ability to explain all this. Modern scientist is not able to do it, but the scientists of ancient era, they knew all this. They knew about all this. If the modern scientists are so good, why can't they restore the lost means losing, L-O-S-T, the lost acts of forefather. Why can't they restore the lost means not end, L-O-S-T, lost arts of our forefathers? Why they can't give the unfading color of Luxor? She's going on cornering the scientists. H.P. Blavatsky is asking, why can't they restore? They means modern scientists. Restore the lost order. Lost means something which has gone out of our hands. Lose and lost. Lost arts of our forefather. Why they can't give the unfading color of the Luxor? Luxor is a city in Egypt, or Assyrian city, I'm sorry. Luxor is an Assyrian city and an old city with grand civilization. So all the buildings are well painted in original. Those paintings have not spoiled because of air or water or anything like that. So the modern scientists, can they bring back that color? That color which was there so many centuries ago, can the modern scientists produce the same color? Is it possible for them? That is the challenge. The colors are bright as if the walls have been painted today. In the Luxor city, she says, the colors are so bright, the walls have been painted today. So that is the result of, or the method of painting, or the material used for painting the walls. The walls have been painted as if they've been painted today. Why they can't create the indestructible cement of the pyramids? Pyramids are manufactured with a cement which is not easily destroyable. It should last for 300 years, 400 years. So they have used a very superior brand of cement. why they can't create the indestructible cement of the pyramids. So there is a material used to manufacture the pyramids. Why we can't use that for our people who are passing away? Why can't the modern scientists create that stained glasses? Stained glass means color is applied to the particular glass. It looks greenish, or it looks blue, or it looks amber color, whatever it is. So the scientists, modern scientists, to create stained glasses. Stained means colored glasses, which are part of the relics. Relic is a place where originally a temple was there, or originally a house was there, or originally office was there, or something like that. When that got spoiled over a period of time, so that became a relic. So she's saying, when we visit the old ruins and see the beams and windows of tinted glasses, especially when we see a cathedral old beyond repair. So when we go to old churches, you see the beautiful old paintings. So the modern scientists create the stained glasses, which are part of the relics found when we visit old ruins and see the beams and windows of stained, the tinted glasses. So we see the colored ones. The tinted also is color. Tint also. Windows have glass panes, and so many places the glass panes are colored. So most of the tinting and staining of glasses has taken place. So especially when we see a cathedral. Cathedral means a church, a huge church. Beyond repair. Actually the cathedral is spoiled. But still, when you go inside and find out the colors used on the window panes, or even doors for that matter, or anywhere. So that color is something great. How did the ancients create malleable glass? Malleable glass means a glass which can be managed, twisted. Malleability is twisting. So steel at one particular stage is malleable. Steel at one particular heat is malleable. So that's how the big beams, when they pass through the fire, they are made into smaller beams, smaller wires. So that's malleable. Steel is malleable. Similarly, they say, or madam say, ancient malleable glass means something, the glass which you can twist and use. Promote that. Or how did they malleable glass? Actually, there are not much of technology or instruments or anything like that, but they could produce such colors. Beautiful malleable glass, a glass which can be twisted like a rope. So how did they manage? What was the secret they had? Though there was no technology available to them, how did they make it, is what she is asking. All these secrets were known thousands of years ago. All these secrets were known thousands of years ago. So that's not just now that these things have happened. They have happened 1,000 years back. How did the ancients know all this, is what she is saying. The more we advance in archaeology and philology, philology is a branch of knowledge which is related to structures of buildings, historical development of the place, etc. That is philology. So whether it is archaeology or philology, the more we advance in archaeology and philology, the branch of knowledge which relates to structure of building, historical development of the place, etc. So that is the philology. Archaeology is how exactly that has to be built and all that. Architect draws the plan. He sees that the cathedral or church or a temple is built according to the design of that particular person. So philology, the branch of knowledge which relates to structure of building, historical development of the place, etc. We will feel small and humiliated as to what the ancients would achieve with so little technical support. She says we will feel ashamed when we see what they could actually come out with, even though they didn't have too much of technology with them at that point of time. So she says we will feel small and humiliated as to what the ancients could achieve. So she says the ancients were great. They could produce malleable glass, they could produce some colors, and all those colors are not washed off even now, but to put their colors back, modern people don't have a clue. In spite of technical support, the modern era, in spite of technical support, the modern era, the scientists are not able to produce anything similar. This is her observation. The modern people are not able to produce anything similar to that which have been produced by the ancients thousands of years ago. The modern people are not able to do it. What is the reason? She is asking. HPB reveals another facet of the ancient people and the skills they possessed. Now HPB is revealing one more aspect of people, ancient people, and the skills they possessed. Means the special skills they had. The ancients had good knowledge of optics. Optics is lenses, optical lens, we say, no? The optical lens is optics. The subject of studying lenses is optics. So now she is talking about how the ancient had used these glasses, looking glasses, or glasses through which you can magnify the picture. So the ancients had good knowledge of the optics, the study of science, and watch the behavior of glass, using a glass. So using a glass, we study how the inside or object exposed is expanding, or what exactly is happening. So the study of science and watch the behavior of a glass. So this is what somebody has to do. The old people used to do, can the modern people match? The convex lens, concave and convex. Convex lens, which magnifies the objects, was found at Nimrud, Nimrud. Nimrud is a place. The convex lens, which magnifies the objects, means it blows them from 8 inches to say 80 inches. Just example. The convex lens, which magnifies the objects, was found at Nimrud, an ancient Assyrian city again, near the city of Mosul, Mosul. HPB says Cicero talked about an epic called Iliad, I-L-I-A-D, Iliad. There is an epic which was there, and Cicero talked about it, and this whole epic was written on a skin of such a miniature size, the whole book produced on that particular skin could be folded and deposited into a shell of a nut. That's how smooth it was. Cicero, HPB says Cicero, whose daughter was Surya, who we have mentioned some time back, Cicero talked about an epic Iliad written on a skin of such a miniature, that means small size. The whole book could be folded and deposited into a shell of a nut. Some nut is there, you break the nut, take out the nut, there is a shell. The entire writing of that particular epic Iliad was folded and kept into the nut. So such a beautiful thing they could make. And how do we read that which is produced into the nut or folded into the nut? We need after all a convex lens. That's only the way in which you can read. Iliad was written on a skin of such a miniature, the whole book could be folded and deposited into a shell of a nut. Shell of a nut. So you break the nut, remove the kernel inside, and what remains is a shell, outer shell. Into that outer shell, the entire book, which is written, that sort of a thin paper, or thin skin, actually not paper, skin, that could be folded and kept inside. When someone wanted to read, he used the convex lens to magnify the letters. Otherwise it's not possible. Such small letters were there, and the whole thing got folded into the nut. So that's how they started using the optics. Similarly, kings had rings. I don't know why the rhyme has taken. Kings had displayed or worn rings made of metals to their hands. So similarly, kings had rings which had a small glass fixed, and the king could see the skill of gladiators fighting animals with weapons. So a king has a animal, has a ring, and the gladiator is the person who is fighting an animal using a weapon. So he can see through this glass, which is attached to his ring, instead of going nearer to the place where the gladiator is fighting, because that is injurious, that is dangerous. So he observes the fight with a distance. So he uses a lens there. That's what she's saying. So the similar kings had rings which had a small glass fixed, and the king could see the skill of gladiators, that is people who are fighting animals with weapons. King Nero is a very popular figure, no? Name. King Nero had such a ring on him. So he had one ring which was used by him like that. All this she is describing the optics. In the question of optics, she has mentioned all this. Of a epic written on a skin, folded and kept into a shell. Then she talked about a ring which a king wore, and he could see the fight of a man fighting animals. So that's a dangerous sport. So he could see the whole fight with the minutest details using a lens. That lens was fixed on the ring he had. King Nero had such a ring on him. Some seafarers, means travelers, some sea travelers had instruments which they could use to see the whole ocean. The ocean is such a wide, expansive thing. The travelers, they could see using an instrument which they could see very clearly where to go, how much is the distance, how the sea is, all that they could see using their instrument. Wendell Phillips, this name is also familiar to us. Wendell Phillips had a friend who had a ring whose diameter was about 3/4 of an inch. Friend of Wendell Phillips had a ring whose diameter, the ring's diameter, was 3/4 of an inch, and on it the figure of Hercules was painted. On that particular small ring, the face of the ring, the figure of Hercules was painted. By using a magnifying glass, one can see the muscles interlacing. One can see the muscles interlacing of Hercules. Not only that, one could even distinguish each hair on the eyebrow of Hercules. My God, what sort of a glass it should have been. Each hair separately could be seen, which is attached to the eyebrow. So not only the muscles were seeable or lookable, but the eyebrow has some hair. Each hair they could count by using this instrument, which is a glass which is fixed onto a ring. Mrs. Rallinson says, Mr. Rallinson says, HPV bought a stone, HPV herself bought a stone about 20 inches long, and 10 inches width, containing an entire book on mathematics. That stone had the whole book of mathematics written on it. That's called maybe the small writing or whatever it is called. The Rallinson talks about she bought a stone about 20 inches long and 10 inches wide, width, containing an entire book on mathematics. The details can be seen only with a magnifying glass. So this is how one could read that book. The entire book is there in that stone. In Dr. Abbott's Museum, Abbotts, Abbott's Museum, there is a ring which is earlier to 500 BC. That is the age of that ring. The ring is of the size of 1/4 of a dollar. 1/4 of a dollar. I don't know. It must be folded, I think it's 1/4 of the dollar. So the size of 1/4 of a dollar, the age of the ring is 500 BC. The engraving is invisible. Normally it is invisible. You see, it's a plain thing. That's how you feel. But when you use a magnifying glass, one could read engraving on it. So that's what she says. The ancients had the skill of optics also with them. And then she's talking about at Parma, Parma, a gem owned by Michelangelo. Michelangelo is the greatest painter, or the sculptor. At Parma, Parma, a gem owned by Michelangelo. There was engraving done on that particular gem owned by him, which is 2000 years old. He had a gem. Gem means what is it called? Diamond. Gem worn by Michelangelo. That engraving is 2000 years old and the ring is 500 BC. So I really don't know how to calculate that. The gem worn by Michelangelo, engraving is 2000 years old, very old. And there are pictures of 7 women on it. 7 women are there. Otherwise, without looking glass, you will not see them. But 7 women on it. In the engraving on the gem. Gem itself is a very nice thing, of course, very hard. But engraving on the gem, 7 women. The forms of 7 women. And definitely we need to use a magnifying glass to distinguish those 7 forms. So if you have to decipher, if you use a glass, you can definitely see the 7 ladies there. But otherwise, it's so difficult. So she went on hammer and tongs behind the modern scientists. From the first page of this segment to the last, she is not sparing them, she is going after them. And I, for one, don't understand. I don't know how scientists can prove the existence of God, can prove the power of His, and also talk about eternity. Maybe eternity, time and all that is different. Maybe it's something which can be done through mathematics, but presence of eternity, presence of that form which is godly or God's power, how scientists will ever be able to talk about it? I am not able to. As I told you the other day, I am not a science student, but to imagine a scientist will come and say God's power is going to be like this. I don't know whether it is round the corner, but this is what she is expecting. The modern scientists, they do not have the wherewithal for it. Maybe if they had continued their study based on the ancient scientists, they threw it away. The ancient science and their findings were not used by the modern fellows, modern scientists. Had they used it, maybe they would have gone towards that. But we really don't know. She is going hammer and tongs, means very severely she is following them, saying that you can't explain this. You can't explain this. You can't explain a light which is burning in a tomb. You can't explain if somebody is buried for 30 days and he is brought out. You don't know why he is alive. So all these phenomena are happening because of the loss of nature. Because these people have control on the powers of the nature, that man is able to intern himself into the pit and come out after 30 days. So all these details are given in this segment. So I think we'll stop here. This is the segment which is talking about lights which are inexplicable, the lenses which are so powerful, and so many other things we touched.